Hey everybody. We are in full-on cross-country move mode, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to you guys about the 30mm Fujifilm macro that I just recently picked up and it just recently was announced. Now, disclaimer that I'm not a macro photographer. I think it's really fun to get super close to subjects and, see that bokeh happen, as well as see just how close this lens can focus. And let me tell you, this lens can focus close. There were quite a few times that I actually hit the subject with the outside of the lens because I was getting so close to the subject and it could continue to focus. So the minimum focusing distance on this lens is just to die for. They weren't exaggerating in their marketing material with that little finger going up to the lens. This definitely is a top performer when it comes to close focusing distance. I've used this in a couple of different scenarios, but what I keep finding is that I'm not actually looking for a super close-up macro personally. I think what I'm using this for is more product style photography. You'll see a lot of the sample images in this video are pretty festive, but of ornaments, and you can see that it allows me to get really close to the subject so that I can make an interesting composition. It also is tack sharp as far as when you get super close to something, which is exciting. But where I think this could be really interesting is in a studio environment where you're shooting a product and you need to get really close so that you just have the background, no ambient light, no ambient, background images, and it's just your backdrop. I think that could be really interesting, and that's something I want to test in the future. Now, this focal length is definitely something you could still use for street photography and things of that nature, so it's not just a close-up lens, and I want to be clear about that. If you're in a pinch, for example, I was shooting all those ornaments, but then I wanted to capture this image of my grandma, and it does a really great job at that as well. And if you are trying to shoot portraits and get really close to the subject, in these images you can see that it actually allows you to do that pretty well. So I could see this for portraiture if you're going for a specific style. I think my biggest advice about this lens would just be don't buy it to be a street photography lens. I think you want to buy this if you have a specific use case. Now for video, this has been really interesting. Some of the shots from my last video were shot with this lens. It's really cool for, say, a channel like this that focuses on tech products, because it'll allow you, again, with the product focus, to get really close to details. One thing I will say, though, is that when you're very, very close to a subject like that, those micro jitters are a lot more noticeable in video. So maybe you want to use a gimbal, or I have a video tripod over there. Something like that to stabilize the footage. Yes, these cameras have IBIS, but when you're that close, handheld, the micro jitters are just going to come through. I guess one other thought, or not criticism, but just piece of feedback I'd have about the lens is that it is not super fast to focus if you're trying to change focus very quickly. So if you're going in closer and closer and closer to a subject, it'll track that just fine. But if you're super close to an object and then pull back and try to get the whole scene, it runs through the whole lens's focus range just to find that. So, it's about the use case, right? I don't think most people would be doing that with this lens, jumping from super close to a wide establishing shot, but just something to be keeping in mind. Again, when you're getting closer and closer to a subject and you're just refocusing each time, that's not a problem at all. Overall, I am loving this lens. It's going to be really helpful for these YouTube videos as I continue to kind of showcase products. I think it's also going to be great. I'm going to have a home studio in my new apartment, and I'm looking forward to doing some product photography with it. Again, my biggest piece of feedback would be just don't buy it for street photography. Buy it for a specific use case, portraiture, close-up imagery, obviously macro, but if you're going for products or something where you need detail, this is a fantastic lens. It's also extremely lightweight and compact, so it's super portable. It doesn't add a lot of weight to the lenses. Do you guys just see Roxy up there? I think the way to think about it is if it's on your camera because you're doing some product shots or some close-up images, and then you happen to want to catch a scene really quickly and it's still on the body and you don't want to change lenses, yes, it's great for that. So please feel free to leave any comments below or questions about the lens. Happy to follow up with another video or answer your comments below. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. I will definitely be making some more videos on lenses in the near future, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I also have a cross-country road trip coming up where I'm going to be using a bunch of different Fujifilm cameras and documenting that, so let me know if you'd like to see a video on that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.